I've been holding on to this sketchbook since Secret Santa 2022. My goal is to finish it today, tomorrow. I have 4.5 spreads left in it, so I really want to just knock this thing out, and it will force me to play with more of my art supplies. So for this very first spread, I decided to go with what I was most comfortable with, which is watercolors. Honestly, it was just because they were within reach on my desk and I didn't really want to grab any other supplies out. But I started doodling some animal puns, or actually food puns. I guess it's a mix between the two, but yeah, whatever. I thought they were really funny in my head. After a recent trip with my friends, I made a whole long list of different puns I wanted to draw just for fun. And I decided as a warm up, this should just be low pressure, not like sticker ideas or other product designs or anything. So the first thing I drew was 2 radishes riding a horse. That is the horseradish. And then I drew a bee saying what's up, because wasabi. I feel kind of silly like explaining it to you now, but it's okay.
Okay.
I drew a banana on vacation with a little drink. Notice that it is on a hammock because banana hammock. Yeah. This next one is a spring roll rolling down a bed of flowers, which you can't really tell what it is until it's colored in. And then I drew a motorcycle. Pretty gangsta, but it's a little dumpling with a leather jacket riding the motorcycle because he's bowed to the bone. And then finally, this little baby durian, all it swaddled up because it's just so stinking cute. Yeah. And that's the first spread. Here I am just painting different colors, blocking them in. I'm not really painting within lines, and I'm just kind of like letting the paint blend together. And it's literally just for fun. No shading or anything. I'm okay with how this page came out. It's basically just making my own coloring book in my head. So it was pretty fun just as a warm up. And here's the finished piece. Which one's your favorite? I think I'm gonna make the spring roll an actual sticker design because I think it's so cute. This is in the same sitting session, so you can tell that because I have the same sleeves on. But this was just a for fun, from reference, collage of different animals and different animal memes I found on Pinterest. My favorite kind of memes are the animal ones, so I just drew whatever cute little animal came up. First one was a bear just holding balloons, and a bunny, and then a guinea pig on top of an actual pig, and a ducky with a flower on its head. And then I had to pay homage to Tom Nook because rent is due, and a little Bambi. And then I love this guy. He is a baby penguin asking if you want some, just because he's coming at you. This next one is an otter. I decided to give him a harpoon, so he is now a predator, even though he's a tiny little strong boy. Yeah, it's just so cute. I love his little angry brows. And because he's like floating in the water, I decided to draw a little buddy next to him as a little sloth, kind of like looking over their fence. And he's asking, "What's up, neighbor?" And then I drew a tiger head just because I felt like drawing little stripes. It looks so out of place here, but that's okay. And then I drew this guy. I think he's like a fennec fox, but you can't really tell because like when animals with long snouts kind of face you, they look squished. And he's just a shy boy. And then I drew an axolotl because it's so happy. And then lastly, a little owl. Okay, so here I am lining it. I decided to go a little bold. I think the graphic liner look on this whole spread was so aesthetic, and I kind of want to continue exploring this style. It's less colorful, and you kind of lean on the line weight, which is like how thick certain lines are. It was very, very fun. This spread, I think it's one of my favorite spreads. Also noticed that I don't exactly line what I sketched from the color pencil, just because I felt like changing it up a bit as I went, and it was just there as a guide. So I ended up keeping a lot of the colored pencil with the red lining afterwards, just because I wanted to make it look less polished. It's more fun to me, I guess, taking the pressure away from making every page in your sketchbook a masterpiece comes with just letting go, and I was just sitting here smiling and doodling while watching, The Resident, and oh my gosh, this was really fun. I decided to add some shading with this dark gray brush pen. I love this one because you can really build up the layers, and it's just so juicy. And then also watching it dry like on that penguin is so satisfying. Sometimes I rewatch my recordings of these drawings and I'm just like, how did I do that all in one sitting? Then I remember, hey, I'm speeding it up by 10 times here just so that it would fit in the video and I wouldn't have to narrate like hours and hours of footage, but that's where the fun is. It's really nice seeing the art come to life, both having experienced it in person and then seeing it sped up here. It's just really satisfying. I used a watercolor brush pen just to fill in the background. This is actually like a pretty bright purple. It's one of my lesser used ones, and I decided if I'm going to cover a big area, I should use a color I feel okay-ish with, not using a lot of elsewhere, if that makes sense. I didn't want to waste it, is not the right term, but yeah, here's the end result. I love this spread. I'm kind of just rambling on because I don't want to write a script, to be honest with you, but here is a bunch of watercolor strokes that I made just of pink, red, purple, and orange flowers. I actually intended them to just look like blobs, but when I finished, they ended up looking like flowers, so I used my Posca markers to actually draw flowers on top of those watercolor blobs with whatever I saw, like, oh, this shape kind of looks like this petal facing this way, and so I kind of brought these flowers to life. And I drew this while watching Love is Blind, the marriage episode. Man, that was a really long 91 minutes, even though it wasn't really 91 minutes because I watched it sped up, but the plot was not thickening, man. I can't wait for the reunion later next week. I really like flowers, mostly like the pattern, but like taking care of them, growing them, and all of that is not my cup of tea.
One day later.
Alright, so 1 week later, I decided to bust out my Arrtx Gouache paints. These are like little jelly cups, and I bought them because they were the thing to have. And to be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of them. They're messy, they are kind of sticky, and I feel like they have a lot of filler in them, which is why the colors look the way they do. So I decided to revive it to see if I can start making big sketches with them, at least in another sketchbook or my next one. We'll see. But yeah, after 2 years of not using them, they finally dried out, and here I am. I soaked them with a ton of water overnight, only to make them more malleable today, and I'm mixing each color with a special thingy. I can't think of the word right now, but you know what I mean. And I'm just kind of scraping the palette knife, and there it is, on this spread. I was gonna draw over it with black markers, but the paint was really gunky and had like this oil come out of it. I think it started separating even though I mixed it up, and so I decided to just have this be an abstract page, and I left it as is. It is what it is. Okay, so this is the final spread in this sketchbook. It is my favorite spread of the last 2 days' work, and this is of me and my doggy Harry. He is a very old, how old is he? He was born in 2009, so he is 15 this year. And I took him for a walk the other day, and we had a little photo shoot because it was finally sunny after much rain here in the Bay Area. So I decided to paint him. I think one of the first few pages in the sketchbook also was a painting of him, because I decided to just paint things that made me happy in the sketchbook. The initial sketch was just proportion check, and here I am adding more of the lines, just figuring out how the form is of his face and my face. And I don't typically like to use an eraser when I'm sketching because I just want to leave all of my marks there, and it slowly makes me more confident in the lines that I make. But when it comes to details that can make or break the entire drawing, like the eyes for instance, I definitely needed that. And here I am cleaning up the sketch a bit, finalizing some details, adding texture. My hat is a corduroy dad hat of Pigman's, and so I had to include those lines for texture. Then I bring out my favorite brush pen again. This is the light gray one. It's very juicy, and I love that after using it for a while, it still has a lot of ink inside, but the nib end, or the brush end, excuse me, has a lot of strokes. It kind of dries out a little bit. As you can see, I have a lot of dry lines on the left side of Harry, and then I squeezed the tube, and here comes the rest of like the juicy ink, which is why the rest of the strokes kind of looks darker and more filled. I like the texture between the two. I wish there was a way to better control when it was dry and when it was filled, I guess. I also really like this ink. It dries very fast and it doesn't smudge that much, but I enjoy using it for shading so much. I am trying to figure out a style of shading with markers and ink in general, I guess, that fits more of my own aesthetic. I like filling in big blocks and leaving other bigger blocks empty, if that makes sense. Like having my hair here, leave it white while I have a black sweater. I like the contrast between all of that. So just still figuring out, like, do I fill in the lips? Do I shade like the smile lines, etc., etc., where I'm minimizing the face enough where you can tell which feature is which without making it look really old, you know? Then I bring out this Sumi ink brush pen. It is really dark and the tip is very soft but also very light, and so I can get in all of the nook and crannies, but it's a little hard to control like how much ink comes out of there sometimes, so I only really use it for lining. And that's the spread. What do you think? I love it. I think Harry approves of it too. Okay, thank you, bye!